Play, Watch, Listen is a fortnightly video game development podcast featuring myself, a video game writer, Mike Bithell, game director, and usually Austin Wintory, who is a video game composer, though he was unavailable this week. This show is brought to you entirely by Patreon, which is the reason that the show continues to exist. It is the reason we are able to pay editors and pay the artist. It is also the reason that we don't have to chase flashy headlines and always talk about whatever topic is trending, which I think is a huge strength of this show. It's very organic and very sincere. Patrons also got this episode a little bit early, and an extended cut, as they do with all of the shows that exist on my channel. But whether you're a supporter on Patreon or not, we appreciate you being here, and we hope you enjoy the episode. You tune into Play, Watch, Listen to learn how to be productive, how to hustle.
Grind.
Yeah, and sometimes how to make video games. Like your new video game, Mike Bithell, tell us about it.
I am making a video game, Vampirium 1997.
It looks very cool.
We announced it yesterday, and people are digging it, which is great. It's weird. You get a sense after a few games of like when something's legitimately clear. There's a very loud train going by. Apologies, that's going through.
I can slightly hear the train.
Yes. There's like it seems to actually legitimately be exciting people in a way that is fun. It's cool.
I was going to give my thoughts, but why don't you explain it first? What is game?
I was going to, So it's a vampiric assassin Imslim. I'm saying Imslim because I'm a jerk, and I want to make it happen now. I said it like while I was recording a gameplay walkthrough for the Steam page, and I said it and then cracked myself up.
I saw
for the next 5 minutes. Yeah. And I'm going to try and make it stick because it's stupid. I like it. But no, immersive sim, but it's not first person immersive sim. It's done. It's kind of, and we talk about the reasons for this from like a pragmatic design point of view, but like it's done as like an overhead map view basically, and you're kind of interacting. It's almost like a board game or a TTRPG. You're kind of playing with pieces as you go, but the actual actions you're doing and the verbs you're doing, it aligns closer with like a Deus Ex or a Hitman. Mm-hmm. You're kind of using the environment and finding your own
let me pull up the
way of killing vampires,
gameplay, because basically. I do think it's probably a difficult one to explain without being able to see it.
Very hard. I was at a party like last weekend with a good friend of mine, a game designer, and he asked me like what it was. So I hadn't actually shown it to him. I showed it to him, and he's like, "How are you going to describe it?" I said, "I have no idea."
Yeah.
Like, you should probably figure that out in the next few days because you're going to have to actually start explaining this to people once you've announced it. So
I don't know that you can is the thing. In that, like, I get
it's kind of not. There's no direct analog to it.
No, this is
kind of
unique.
invented genre. Yeah,
a little bit,
which is stupid from a marketing point of view to invent a genre.
No, but I think I think you, and I always say this to indies, that I think what you need to be able to do, like the biggest strength is once you see a screenshot of it, you understand what it is. And I would say as long as you see a screenshot with one of the verbs, that is the case for this game. As long as you see, like you have, it's almost like you have dialogue options that are actions that you can take. Yeah. The minute that you see the like dodge or strike, you see those, I understand what the game is, which is like.
We lent into that as well with the trailer. Like we had conversations.
It's a great trailer, by the way.
Thank you. I made it.
It's very, very good. Like a really good trailer. Did you do the music in the trailer as well?
I did.
It's so
I am.
Good.
This is a big reveal. I don't think I've said that to anyone publicly.
Huge.
Yeah, I'm doing all the music and I'm doing the art, but like it's any real artists watching will know I'm doing some like stock photography and tracing and all that. But it's come together. It's looking good, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think, no, the verbs, you're absolutely right. That is the way to explain it. And I think as well, that's the one thing I'm looking forward to kind of explaining to players over the time between now and early access of kind of, no, it's not just like, it's not like a text adventure game. It's like, there are so many interactions and the way you can stack those and use them together. Like right now, and I'm not done by a long way, there's 50 verbs.
Crazy.
And they all interact in different ways and have different use cases and stuff. There's just a lot going on there. So yeah, basically the initial prototype was I made most of the core mechanics of Deus Ex work in it. That was like my test level of kind of like if I can abstract Deus Ex and do like most of the mechanics you can do in Deus Ex, then I'm most of the way there. And then as it's gone on, obviously with the vampire stuff, that opens up a bunch of things, and I've been able to play with it.
How because I haven't seen enough to ask this question, so I understand the premise is you are given a location, you choose to go to the location. Then you'll see a map that like is in many ways looks like a Resident Evil map to me, kind of. And there are several rooms. The rooms are obviously different actual physical rooms that are there. You get into a room, there's a person in it. You can choose how you're going to interact with that person. How, if you can't physically see the person, how are you tracking like where bodies are, or like where? How do players track the physical space when they're not in that room? If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So in the map, so things that spatial is abstracted, like where things are is abstracted to an extent, but for things where it's not abstracted, where it matters where things are, those are shown on the map. So characters are little circular dots and
gotcha.
little markers on the map. So like, yeah, if you knock someone out, there'll be a red marker when they're attacking you, and then they'll go to a grey marker when they're dead. If you hide them in a locker, they'll disappear from the map because they're now
hidden.
In a locker.
Gotcha. Yep.
But if you leave a room, you can still see all the markers. That was actually one of the first things, because the original version of the game didn't have character markers, and and when I did add them, I only made it that it could show you things that were in the room with you. And the play testers got very angry with that for obvious, in retrospect, reasons, and didn't work at all. So that's all. It's all visible on the map now. So yeah, you've got this constant kind of overview. One of the things we're playing with actually is how much awareness you should have of the state of different rooms when you're not in them. So, for example, you can turn lights off and on so characters can see you or not see you. Should you be able to see whether a room is dark or light before you walk into it? Can we have like essentially the equivalent like the Splinter Cell, stick a camera under the door and see what the room situation is? So we're talking about all of that stuff, but yeah, it's abstracted to room by room, and then within that, yeah, things where space does matter, so characters, we show that as well.
How did this start out? What was it initially? Obviously, it's largely you working on it, is my understanding.
Yep.
Where did the idea come from, or what was it? What was V1?
So it was, and we talked about it on the show before, that after we made Tron, the company scaled down because we didn't have another project coming in, which obviously sucked. As a way of kind of giving some focus to myself, I basically decided to learn Godot as like a project.
Oh, you made this in Godot?
Not really think. Yeah.
Cool.
So I started teaching myself how to make that, and I started playing with like various, as anyone who's learning an engine does. I made a platformer, I made a card game, I just fiddled around just to kind of get my feet under me. And then through that process, started playing with, basically was placing cards and was making cards draggable on top of each other, and that you could use, you could drag a gun card onto a character to shoot them, and then you could maybe drag some ammo onto a card to reload it, the gun to reload it. And I was playing around with that, and I was like, it just kind of triggered in me this kind of realization that the genre I love and the genre I play the most, immersive sims, I've never made one because they're really tough to make, or rather they're expensive to make, and they take a lot of time because you just have to make so much animation, 3D art to make things work. It's very easy to make a pretty corridor and tell the player to run down it, but the second you start letting the player actually influence the world in an interesting way, it just spirals. Yeah. It gets very expensive very quickly. And I'd never been able to make a game like that. And I was playing with these cards, and I was like, this was very quick to make. So in theory, you could make an immersive sim. If you could abstract it to this level, you could basically make something as deep and interesting as a Hitman or a Deus Ex, but you could kind of make it on your own or on an indie project. You could do something interesting there. So that kind of, that was the origin of it, was just kind of putting all of that stuff together and then just iterating, taking a genre I loved. And then the other aspect of it was the story and the vampire stuff.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
I've been internally trying to make a vampire game for like 5-6 years. It was always something that was on my list because I'm just a big fan of like 90s pop culture vampires, like Buffy and Blade and all that kind of specific era that I was a teenager for. And I just thought, that's interesting just because it's a cool premise and it's kind of something that feels a bit more original. But even more importantly, for an immersive sim, vampires are like custom made for an immersive sim because their enemies that have interesting overlapping strengths and weaknesses. They're simultaneously like very strong, but if you can figure out how to lock one outside, he's dead immediately. And that starts to play into the immersive sim thing of like, oh, I can build mechanics around that. And like, it's already there that like one of our playtesters
already given you the
barricade a vampire outside.
Oh, cool. Sorry, it's already got limitations. I assumed that you'd be playing as a vampire. You're not?
You are also playing as a vampire.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Very cool.
So the premise of it, which I don't think I've talked about much, so it's another Play Watch Listen exclusive.
Huge.
The premise is you're a vampire who's been imprisoned for killing another vampire, which is like the worst crime you can commit. It's a world run by vampires. You've killed another vampire. You're in prison. You're on death row. Right? You're in serious trouble. And Dracula, who's the king, recruits you and says, I'll let you live a bit longer if you kill my enemies for me. So he's kind of having you kill his political rivals in the vampire world.
Cool.
So you're a grudging assassin, basically. We can play it, and it obviously gives us a lot. You know all the million ways that could go from a story point of view, so that's exciting.
Very cool. When you're approaching something like this, like I have had the theory for a while that all players want more immersive sims. I think everybody does.
Yes.
It's just that they're so difficult to make. But if you can make your game anything slightly more like an immersive sim, people will always be impressed by that.
People want to express themselves.
Totally,
they
and
want
it's the
to
easiest
figure
way
out
to do it.
something unique. Yeah,
it's the peak video game. It's just that not everybody's doing it because it's difficult to do. Evidently,
it's hard, and it's fun to do, and it's one of those ones where I kind of like, once my game's out and I'm doing very well, I encourage more people to take this approach, because I don't want to compete with them, but they should do it.
Not yet.
Because it is not yet.
Yeah.
Wait for me. Let me do it first. But no, if you can design these things very modularly and with this level of abstraction, where I'm proud of how the game looks, but it's not trying to be 3D animated and all that. I think what that allows is it just allows for such a speed of implementing interesting choices, where you almost get to a point where a playtester, because we've been through 2 rounds of playtesting now, a playtester can be like, I think it was annoying that I couldn't do XYZ because I felt like I should be able to. That becomes something that would have been, in a traditional kind of 3D action game, days, weeks, multiple people, a team kind of figuring that out. I can make a mechanic in a day.
Yeah.
And that's the pace that you can work out with this. A good example of that is it's actually something I've already changed from the playthrough. In the playthrough, there's a character who wants you to steal a plate for him. And you go upstairs and you grab the plate and you take it back to him. And it's a shit quest. I made that and I was like, this is fine, but it's not particularly interesting. And then for another thing, I made fuse boxes, and the idea that you could kind of power and depower parts of the building by stealing fuses. And I went, oh, well, let's put an electronic alarm on the cabinet that holds the plate. And now you've got to, like, Ocean's 11, break the alarm before you can steal the thing. Otherwise, an alarm goes off and alerts guards. That idea forms in the morning, and by the end of the day, that's in the game. And that's what's so exciting.
That's amazing, yeah.
I can just stack those things up, and it's not that I'm some genius who can do that. It's that I've literally abstracted it to a point where that's not a lot of code, and those things are stacked up and modular already. So, like, the concept of a room having power, the concept of a fuse that can affect whether a room has power, those things just kind of stack, and you end up in this kind of virtuous cycle of just being able to just make the game deeper and deeper and deeper.
Well, that was what
really
my
cool
question
to
was
me.
going to be, is like, what are some of the limitations that you found, or like some of the most challenging things about making an immersive sim? Like, what is there anything you're butting up against in, like, exploring a new genre that you didn't expect?
There's definitely a bit of unlearning, because I'm definitely someone who's used to, I came up, like, I'm very much of the, like, Half-Life 2 and Prince of Persia Sands of Time design era, where it's like, we're not going to force the player to do the right thing, but we're going to put a spotlight shining at a door which is slightly ajar, and there's a guy stood next to the door going, man, I hope no one walks through this door, and I'm going to kind of guide the player towards where the fun is. And I've worked on a lot of games that were corridors of cool stuff, basically. And that's the thing with immersive sims, where you kind of have to let go of that control. There was something very early on where I had a very small group of people playing the game. And at that point, because it was an immersive sim, it had a lot of, and still does have a lot of, like, stealth mechanics. But someone was playing it and they were like, it's really cool sneaking around as a vampire, but I'm a vampire. So when I find someone I want to murder them horribly, I want to be able to do that, please, because I'm a vampire. Otherwise, I should just be playing as Solid Snake. I shouldn't be playing as a vampire. Totally valid note. Totally reasonable. But my first reaction was, well, if I make you too powerful, the stealth, you're not going to do the stealth. And there's a certain degree with immersive sims where you have to let go of that kind of game design. I'm going to steer you towards what I want you to be doing and just go, if I make this game unbalanced in lots of directions at once, I have to have faith in the player to kind of find a path through that. And then what happens, you unbalance the game and then you realize where you can kind of nudge things to make it feel tighter. But really just kind of flipping from, I want to encourage the player to do the right thing to I want to give the player ideas for cool things they could try. That was for me. That was a difference in between this and another game.
It becomes I want to see what they do, not I want to show them what to do.
Exactly. And you want, to me, and that's what's fun about making this, is that seeing people have reactions like someone on the Steam forums. It was something I was already kind of half thinking about. Someone on the Steam forums was like, it sucks that I can't jump out a window and get to a different area of the house. I'm like, it does suck that you can't jump out a window and get to another. And I was in the comments with him. I was like, well, maybe you could turn into a bat and fly out the window and you can access other rooms. And it's like, and that's now on my list. And at some point, next week, I'll probably just make that in a day. And that's what's so exciting, is I can kind of it's almost like improv. You can kind of see where the audience is taking you.
Especially you're not waiting on art. Like I totally get that. That's a huge win. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just basically, for people listening, hopefully people watching have seen some video of it, but like
I'll have some
listening,
at the top.
Everything's an icon, so those icons I can make if I've got a new object, I just need to add a new icon, and then the rest is pretty much just like text and eventually an audio pass. But like, yeah, it's not crazy.
So then, obviously, you lose a lot by not having like a full 3D art environment. You lose a lot of atmosphere. You lose a lot of color. How are you making sure that people have an understanding of atmosphere in this space? Like, how are you filling in the blanks that you automatically get by not having a full 3D space?
I mean, basically by over delivering in every other area has been kind of the thinking. It was definitely a problem again, like with the early prototypes where it just felt a bit blank. Writing helps a lot. So I
do think your UI is very good, for the record. Great UI.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I always have fun with the UI stuff. But like, dialogue is great for that, like in terms of scene setting and tone, and that's obviously something I know I'm quite strong at. I can write stuff. So that's good, and we kind of ported over the kind of the choicey stuff from Subsurface Circular. So weirdly, like Subsurface Circular is a mini game in this game, basically. You can have these little dialogue conversations with characters, and that does a lot of it. Obviously audio.
Yeah.
Audio just like phenomenally powerful, and being able to do. We talk a lot about, like, it's a pretentious term, but like theater of the mind. That basically all we need to do is give you little hooks and you'll be imagining stuff and you'll see the room around you. And playtesters refer to this all the time. Someone said very early on that it's playing it feels very cool and is interesting, but they remember it like they would remember a Hitman. They remember walking into a room and there was a thing. It breaks it kind of puts it into your brain because you're interacting. Again, it's because you're interacting with the system so much. But the weird thing of just like the game, I put in a thing where like if you interact with an object, you hear a couple of footsteps and then an interact noise and then a couple of footsteps of stepping back. We have like atmospherics and even like things like reverb. So like when you move between rooms, you can feel, I'm in a small room. If you've got headphones on, you feel the walls coming in or you feel the room opening up as you leave.
Are you doing your own Foley, like sound design?
I'm doing bits and pieces. I'm using some stock stuff because a lot of it can be done with stock stuff.
Even major films still use stock stuff.
Totally. To be fair, when I've worked, most of my games I've worked with, like, professional sound designers, they'll still be using libraries.
Yeah.
Like that's a big part of the process. And then just weirdly, you'll find sounds that are not available or are not good in the kind of libraries. And then, yes, there's been some times where I've had to like bash something next
I love
to the
it.
mic.
It's so fun.
I couldn't find the right silenced pistol noise, which obviously is very important in an immersive sim. You have a good silenced pistol noise. So the silent pistol in our game is just literally 3 recordings of me, one going, tss, one of them going, pff, and like it's just me making mouth noises, and then just a lot of reverb and,
That's
and
funny.
effects to make that sound right.
Oh, I love Foley.
And then it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun. That's one of the nice things with it is because I've never done music before. I've not really ever done sound. I've always gotten someone in to fix my sound basically after I've done it, and I've not done much art for our games. So doing all those things has been really interesting, and I'm enjoying that experimentation. We'll see how the audience reacts to it, but I think this is the first time I'm admitting in front of a camera that I did the music for the trailer, and
it's
so
great.
No one was bothered by the music.
Good.
Everyone was fine with it.
No, it's great.
So
you did a great job.
I think I'm getting away with it.
You had some chats to Austin about music stuff, right?
You know what? Weirdly, I actually didn't go to Austin for advice because I was so nervous and shy. I didn't want to. I'm going to now as it goes on, because I'm realizing I kind of do need feedback rounds now specifically on music, because I'm terrible at mixing. I know I need to just talk to people and get advice on that stuff. But no, I was very embarrassed. I wanted to get to a point where I was relatively confident before I approached Austin.
But
I've said to people, like, I've always written myself off because I think I had a very bad, like as a kid, I tried to learn instruments and just couldn't get my head around it. And I think it was the performance anxiety of playing an instrument and worrying about missing a note or whatever. But with digital, with just the ability to, use sequencers and, desktop tools to make music, I now don't need to be, I've got my keyboard on my desk in front of me. And as long as I can play the notes, I can then move the MIDI files around to make it sound fine if I miss my timing. So it's been really nice because I've always told myself I wasn't musical, and even I think I've even said it on the show, like when I've had trouble directing composers because I've been like, I'm not a music guy. But what I think I've realized is I've chatted to a lot of good friends about music who are composers. I have most of my record collection is old soundtracks of things. Like I've been kind of studying it without knowing I was studying it for so long that actually there is a little Austin on my shoulder who will just jump in with like things I've heard him say or whatever. It's quite nice. That's been really fun and creative. I've enjoyed that a lot.
It's very cool.
And been massively frustrated by getting it wrong sometimes.
How about the art? Because that's largely you as well, right? Like, have you done that kind of thing before?
So I'm graphic designer by background, so I've got good
because you did most of Solitech Conspiracy, right? Am I crazy? I know that the character cards, the portraits were
characters were
different artists, but
so I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I can compose an image, I can balance a color palette, like I can do the fundamentals of the graphic side of things. But no, I've never been a painter or anything. But I'm cheating. I mean, that's the basic that's the basic answer is, and anyone who's ever, any artists watching, you're an artist, you'll understand as well. Like I'm taking stock photography, I'm photo bashing bits of different photos, and then I'm painting and tracing to join them.
I don't think that's cheating.
I think it is. Crucially for me,
different kind of art.
Yes. Well, for me as well, a big part of it, and it's a part of everything in this game is, I'm not using fucking AI.
Of course.
And I think
I might kick you off the show.
And I think that's kind of trying to work out how to produce artwork ethically when I know I'm basically going to work on my own on this one for a while at least. That was important to me to work out what the ethical path was. And what it is using stock photography, which I'm paying for, or royalty-free photography that I don't need to pay for because the photographers have licensed it. And then also seeking out credits. So when you play this game, the credits will have every stock photographer who I've taken something from. Even if it's just, an axe in someone's hand, that person's going to be credited in the game.
Yeah, totally.
And getting that right was very, very essential. And then the process gets built on top of that. Once I've worked out how I can ethically do it, then I sit down and I just practice and practice and practice and get to a point where I can live with the results. Which took a good few months. Like there's a lot. I've got my iPad right here. I've got a lot of very bad paintings I did before I hit like the stuff that's in the game that people have seen. That's like attempt 20, 25.
Looks great.
Yeah, I think it works. It kind of comes together.
Yeah. You touched on this here, but and obviously I know the answer to this. How many people are working on this game?
So I don't like the word solo dev. We've had that conversation ad nauseum. So in terms of practically who's working on the game, I'm developing it and doing the art and all this stuff. I have an amazing marketer, Caitlin, who's doing a lot of support work basically across the marketing stuff. I didn't let her do the announcement trailer, but she'll probably do all the rest of them now that I've had my ego fulfilled by doing the first trailer. And then my business partner, Alexander Slawinski, who I've been with forever. That's the team right now, is the three of us.
And that's the whole of Bithell Games right now?
That's all the Bithell Games right now, yeah. There's going to be QA people. I will definitely need QA people down the road. I'll bring in some old friends to help with that. Some QA people I've worked with before. And hopefully I'll bring in other people as we go to kind of plug gaps and stuff. But yeah, we don't have the resources to go crazy, but I do think we're making something interesting, and that's the positivity for me. That's the exciting part. But I'm not avoiding it. I'm answering it when people ask me, but I'm definitely trying not to do the whole solo dev.
Here's the thing though, Mike.
Here.
Totally respect that. But it is really helpful for marketing. Like, do I understand that
you're not the only person who said
team?
That to me?
Yes. And I would never tell you not to acknowledge that. However, you are developing this game, the physical, the
development of the game I'm doing on my own,
product
yes.
is all you. And I do think that is a helpful thing to say.
I'll tell you why I don't like it, Alana. And I know you know my feelings on this, so I know I am basically talking past you here. I don't like the valorization of like an individual. Like, I don't think it's heroic or interesting for me at this stage to be doing something on my own in that way. I don't like the Oturi stuff. I don't like that idea. I think the biggest problem I have with it though is that no one really is solo.
No, it's largely untrue.
Like I said with the music stuff, I've got Austin on my shoulder. I've got these people. Every composer I've ever worked with has taught me something that I'm bringing to this. Ditto. I mean, the coding side of it, like the experience of working with an amazing programming team on Tron Catalyst and just getting to see how they put something at that scale together. I could not make this game without that experience. So for me, the solo dev thing, I'm not knocking anyone else who does it, and especially if you're earlier in your career, I got no problem with you saying solo dev. But for me, it's a line. I'll quote. Here you go. Just to be more pretentious, I'll quote myself. There's a line in Tron Catalyst. Where EXO, someone's asking her why she bothers working with other people to try and do something, and she says, "Because I'm composite." The idea of the individual as the outcome of all of the interactions and all the people they've worked with. And that, to me, that's more important than showing off on the internet that I made on my own. But I do get what you're saying with the marketing thing.
I get it.
I do get what you're saying.
Pretty helpful for marketing.
Yeah.
But I understand.
I know.
And I think it's...
Also, it's a heat wave here, by the way. I'm so sorry. I'm sweating horribly.
I noticed.
Apologies, audience, for watching.
It's still really hot.
It's so hot here. It's killing me.
Is it not gotten any better yet?
Yeah. It got better for if everyone in the UK watching this will remember the beautiful 2 or 3 days we had where it was like, I guess summer's over. This is great. It's all chill again now.
Because isn't it like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. there right now?
Alana, it is nearly 9 p.m. here.
Holy shit.
The other problem is my house retains heat because it's a British house. So, like, it's well made, but it's not made for this era.
Yeah, we get a heat wave starting next week. Yeah. Brutal.
And all in LA as well. But at least you've got the aircon. I'm gonna
so manageable. So manageable.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
So were you talking about it's a team of 3 people. You had to let a bunch of people go because the industry is what it is and it sucks. That certainly does create QA challenges.
Yes.
Is that part of why you've decided to go early access? I believe this is your first time doing that based on our previous conversations about
it. That's genuinely not an aspect of it because I think so there's a few things here. So everyone who has ever downplayed the need for QA is an idiot
for sure.
Who has been proven wrong immediately. That said, Um, no, I think for a few things. One, I will absolutely bring in some QA folks
Yeah.
to, before we go to early access. The goal is to not get people to pay me to test my game. That's not fair. Um, but the bigger factor, I think, with this, and this is where it goes back to kind of the scope of doing this game rather than like a first-person 3D immersive sim, is most of the bugs that happen from very complex overlaps in a game are spatial. They're AI. They're things this game obviously has AI, but it's AI that is navigating very like simple node trees. It's not it's not like it's not pathfinding in
True.
the sense where it has thousands of nodes to check. It's checking 50 rooms in a big house, right, rather than thousands of vertices. So there's a lot of stuff we don't have as bugs that will not happen because it can't, because the systems are kind of quite bulletproof with that stuff. That said, of course, there will be bugs, but it's not actually so far because obviously before we do a playtesting round, I basically do like a big QA kind of, I'm going to find every bug I can in this game and fix it before we playtest kind of mode. It's not been as bad as other games I've worked on have been at that point or in that process. So I'm optimistic, but I'm not stupid. So it's going to be, there will be a big QA process. But no, with the early access, genuinely the main thinking behind early access, it's kind of a combination of two things. One is, I think simulations like this are more fun if you get lots of people in the room finding the edges of the simulation and then you kind of explore that. So it's not QA as in I don't want people to find bugs, but I do want the guy to post in the Steam forum.
Give you ideas.
I should be able to jump out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that engagement.
Did anyone in playtesting come back with like anything like that or surprise you with something that they did?
I think I did. I haven't looked at my playtest task list, but I think there's at least like 50 things I've added to the game since our last playtest based on that. Usually just communication is the big one. Just like I didn't know what I could do in this room, or I didn't know what I could do there. But yeah, no, there's entire mechanics. What's a good one? That's gone in. Shove. So the verb shove I put in recently. So that was someone being like, you have balconies. You have characters who can stand on balconies, and I can't push someone off that balcony.
That's illegal.
Have you played? Yeah, that's not acceptable. So what that led to was, okay, that person wants to do that action. This is what's fun about designing a game like this, is you go, okay, well, I could make a verb which is, push guy off balcony. But then you start abstracting and you're like, well, that's a context action. That's press X to pay your respects. That's not very interesting. As a mechanic. So it's like, okay, so maybe I could have a shove action and then contextually different things happen. And that's what it's ended up as, is like you can shove someone off a balcony, or you can shove someone into objects in the environment to do damage. You can shove two guys into each other so that they get stunned and damaged by that. Or you can push people through doors into other rooms and use it as a way of breaking up a fight. And you actually start to end up with some fun fight choreography there, where you're like, okay, there's three guys attacking me. I'm going to shove him through that door. Me and him are going to fight while it takes those guys a few seconds to get into the room. And suddenly that one note of I should be able to push someone off a balcony has built a verb that is a set of systems that can overlap and do interesting things. And that's the immersive sim thing of like, what can I get out of one verb, basically? What's the interactions I can do there?
Yeah,
and that's just fun as a designer. And that was 2 days.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
Have you I know that our engineer on Layers Deep, Eric, loves Godot and has been able to do like some really crazy stuff with it. How are you feeling about it? You've been using it for I don't know how long now.
It's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
we had a podcast episode about it when we started using it. Yeah.
Yeah, someone will know. So check the wiki, the Playwatch System wiki. I'm sure there's our Playwatch System wiki. Of course. But like, yeah, no, it's great. It's excellent. It's genuinely excellent, and they've been really supportive of like, they fix issues before I can report them often. So it's amazing.
Yeah, every update actually improves.
The community is incredible.
It's like one of the only softwares that I can say that about is every update it actually is fixing things rather than just like changing something for no fucking reason. It's amazing. Like, it's also just so it's very good, and the people making it are very good, and the community's cool, and I'm having a lovely time with it. Part of the thing, I think, though, as well as all of that,
is that it's young.
Mm.
Because I think there is definitely concepts of like feature creep and code rot and all of these things. I remember I was one of the first people using Unity way back when. So Thomas Was Alone was like not one of the first Unity games, but like kind of where I am in Godot. It was like one of the second wave of Unity games. Back when I think it was Unity 3 I made Thomas Was Alone in originally. Back when they were numbered and there was only 3 of them. And it was back then it was lovely because it was built to make stuff and it was a very simple, straightforward engine. And what happens with engines is they start stacking things up. And it's like your house will never be as tidy as the day you moved in.
Yeah.
Right. Like everyone keeps putting stuff in, or they have to fix this bug over here and that causes 5 bugs over there, or, oh shit, Unreal's added a feature, we've got to copy that and put that in our engine, and blah, blah, blah. And it just builds up into this kind of trash pile, essentially in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
And Godot isn't that. And I think one of the things that's maybe going to make that happen more slowly with Godot, I don't think there's any way to fight entropy. Like, I don't think you can make something not grow in that direction. Yeah. But I think they the fact that the people building it are making games with it, that this is a community of game developers who are contributing code, that there is no central there are people who I think have like decision-making responsibilities, but no one's trying to compete directly with another engine or that kind of thing. So it's it feels very much like, no, they're just trying to make a really good engine. Yeah. And there are a bunch of people who need a very good engine and are just trying to make the tool better. So no, I'm loving it. It's really good. Obviously, given this game, my experience is very tied to like the 2D side of it. I'm not doing anything really with the 3D side of it. So I can't recommend it on that. I don't know how it is on the 3D, but for 2D games, it's genuinely a breath of fresh air. It's lovely.
I guess Layers Deep is mostly 2D, but it's technically 3D in a way that all of our environments are like 3D dioramas, but they're
like little planes moving over each other. Right?
So like 3D in a space, but 2D in terms of what the player sees. And as far as I'm aware, I don't even know if we've run into anything, I'd have to ask Eric, but that we couldn't do yet. In fact, it seems like most often he's like, so I figured out we could do this. And I'm usually like, what?
Right? Yeah.
And it's like a whole thing that I never would have thought that we would be able to do. And it took him a day or whatever. And you're like, what? Oh my God. Okay, crazy. Which is like amazing.
It's really refreshing. It's genuinely, it's similar to the little cube timer thing. It's like I am slowly talking all my mates into moving over to it.
It's good.
I think what's problematic is that a lot of people who are working in the indie space right now are locked in. They're using whichever engine they're using because that's what they've been using for so long. So I think adoption will look slower than it maybe is in the real world, because I know a lot of people who are planning to make their next game in Godot, right? Like
they just can't yet. And I mean, after all that Unreal shit, hopefully, or sorry, it wasn't Unreal this time. It was the other one,
Unity.
No, sorry, other way around. It was Unreal, not Unity.
It was
Unreal that did all the AI stuff.
Unreal 6, right?
Yeah, which is wild. And I just keep being like, I hope Godot doesn't get sold. Just please don't get sold.
It can't. That's the beauty. It can't get sold. It's open source.
I guess that's true. You can't really sell anything that's open source, can you? No value.
I mean, capitalism finds a way.
That's also true.
Like, there's definitely like, and then there's also with, I'm speaking from an ignorant position here, but like I know with Godot, they some of the console facing aspects, like if you want to port to console, that's behind kind of a corporate setup because it has to be, because you can't open source PlayStation source code.
That makes sense.
So I know there is a business there. So yeah, theoretically, parts of it could get sold, but no, it's owned by the people.
It's very good.
It's really good.
This is one of those games that, because I've been meaning to do this with Layers Deep, but haven't yet. That works.
By the way, we're just going to talk about Vampirium and Layers Deep on the podcast forever now, right? We are both.
That's the point.
Now that we can both talk about our games forever.
This is a long con. This whole podcast has been leading to this moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. This would be a really interesting game to do the cyan thing with Myst of the do it as D&D with people who don't play video games. Where they, you'd like talk to your parents or whatever and be like, you enter a room, here are the things you could do, what do you do? And see what people come up with, because they could like give you more creative verbs if they're non-gamers, you know what I mean? Like I just think that's such a cool idea and I want to do it. I just want to like make my parents play through
I've been giving it, I've actually, with playtesting, I've been giving it to non-gamers for that very reason and getting like some weird suggestions. It's quite cool.
Yeah, because they wouldn't be used to like, it's such a, like you said, you're inspired by Half-Life. It's like every game director right now has played Ocarina of Time. We're all inspired by Ocarina of Time. There's nothing you can do about it. But what does it look like to people who aren't used to those confines? Like, what do they think of?
Or even just dual thumbsticks. Like, that's the one that is hilarious watching. Or like, I mean, it's coming around weirdly, like it's coming around from the next generation as well now, where I know people with kids that they've been playing like iPad games through their young years, and then they're transitioning them to consoles, and the kids are trying to touch the TV.
That's crazy.
Rather than using the controller.
Also, you're so blurry right now that it looks like there's like actual steam in the room. Like, it's so hot in there that
it is so hot in here. It's ridiculous.
I'm so
I had
sorry.
the fan on all day. It's all right.
Oh,
it's
hate
okay.
to see it.
I'm having fun, and apologies to everyone who has to look at my sweaty face. It's fine.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's that's what's really interesting about this, and why one of the reasons I'm enjoying it is that it's one of the things I've not mentioned is it's not timed. It's something we tried to do in John Wick, but I was never.
I see a lot of John Wick in this game, for the record. Like, that was the first one that it made me think of. You surely pulled a lot of John Wick.
It's kind of a second go at some of those mechanics that we were playing with in there, for sure, are present, and way less stringent and technical than John Wick was. I've been much more welcoming. But the clock, the idea of like every action takes a certain amount of time and kind of syncing your actions and doing all that stuff, that really flattens the playing field, and it means that people can play the game who want to take their time and look at everything and figure out what their next move. There's no panic clicking in this game. You've got all the time you need to make any choice, and that's weirdly kind of makes it feel a bit more. I mean, the number of people who've like said it feels like a single player tabletop RPG.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Like, I think there's something to that as well. I'm interested to see if I can get it in front of players who would never pick up a traditional immersive sim where it's, lots of action and, people shooting you, whether this would actually kind of cross over to a different audience.
I imagine
like Hitman,
so.
I've always thought Hitman would really appeal to a lot of players if there was no challenge to like the combat. There was no reflex shooting in there.
Yeah.
Now that would be a completely different game, and Hitman I love as it is, but like I think there's definitely an immersive sim that's about the thought is an interesting concept.
Yeah, Hitman's a really fun game to play with someone else, in that you creatively problem solve together, and I feel like you might have the same kind of thing with this, where I agree, like that I think that World of Assassination is one of the best games of the last decade. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's my favorite game, easily.
Absolutely brilliant. And it is about the creativity of it, of people aren't playing it for the shooting. They're playing it for how am I going to approach this? And it's like a series of little logic puzzles, really, in a 3D space. Yeah,
you have to widen the possibility space to make that interesting.
Yeah, totally.
That's the fun. Yeah, that's the interesting aspect of it. And that's, to me, that's the definition of immersive sim is, do I feel like there are 5 ways to do the problem, solve the problem in front of me at any given moment? That's where it feels like. Other people have other definitions, and I know I've definitely seen people. Someone said I was grifting and pretending it was an immersive sim. It's like,
someone said you were grifting?
Someone said I was grifting. I saw that. Someone sent me someone saying that. It's funny.
That's not what that word means. Yeah. There's a whole separate word.
I don't know. People use words.
People do.
I'm not going to challenge. Words. As we should be allowed to have our own definitions of immersive sim, I think that guy should be allowed to use the word grifting however he chooses to use it. Maybe we can find common ground.
Very nice of you to say that.
I'm magnanimous guy.
Yeah, just a really, really big guy. Got big thoughts. He's heroic, if anything. I forgot what I was going to say. How do you approach making this difficult in that I feel like a big part of a Hitman game or an immersive sim in general is the fear of failure. And a lot of that, I think, when I think about things that I have failed at, it has been somebody physically 3D approaching me. When you can't really issue that threat, how do you create the threat in a game that isn't timed and that is, your interactions are largely via text input rather than physical? How are you making it feel threatening?
So, I mean, the cheapest and easiest way of doing it in this game is the fact that there are combatants, and that is always a pressure on you. It's also, and this is where I pull a lot from, like, I'm a big Metal Gear Solid nerd as well, the escalation of conflict. So it's never just I walk into a room and there's two guys I need to kill, and once they're killed, it's solved. Their guns can make sound, so if you let one of them get a bullet off, that's going to make a noise that draws more characters to the space you're in. Characters who are non-combatants will call for help and then run off. If you run away from guys, they'll remember who you are and they'll tell anyone they see who you are. So now that from that point on, the level's going to be more tricky for you because characters are going to immediately become suspicious of you on sight.
And I did see that you have like a blood mechanic where you can be covered in blood and then people will immediately question why you're covered in blood.
Yeah. Basically, anything that would spill blood, which obviously in the world of vampires is quite a lot of things. You can. That's where the immersive sim comes in, because what that means is, if you basically making actions have long-term, mid-term, and short-term consequences creates the kind of the challenge, basically, but also creates opportunities for you to figure your way out of it. If you have blood on you, you can clean yourself. You can go find a bathroom, and use, or you could, because it's immersive sim, you could walk to the kitchen before you get into combat, fill a saucepan with water, and have that in your inventory to throw over you whenever you get blood on you, because that's valid, because water cleans blood. So so if you can prepare for the situation, so you could theoretically do a run of the game where you're incredibly violently vampiric, but you've got just buckets of water with you to clean yourself in between each fight so you can get away with it. And that's where you start. That's the immersive sim thing. You should be rewarded. If you think ahead and do that, you should be rewarded for that. And you should feel it's too easy. If I go to all the trouble of collecting water in buckets before a fight, I can get away with cleaning myself without having to go to the bathroom. That's cool, because the effort was front loaded. You did the clever thing, and then you got the easier. So it's easier because you opted to make it easier. Similarly, shoving people, to go back to that, doesn't get you bloodied because it doesn't break the skin. Yeah. So if you really just didn't want to get blood on you, you could just bounce a guy around a room, kicking him into bookshelves and other people and stuff, and kill him. It would take a while because shoving is less powerful than striking, which does blood damage, but you could theoretically do that situation.
It does seem like you have to be very creative.
It's a really fun, it is just really fun to work on. I'll be just playing it and I'll have an idea of like, it'd be cool if I could do that in this situation. Yeah. Then that just goes on the list and gets done. Yeah. No, it's a really fun game to make. Yeah. And it's why it's another reason that these games are nightmares in traditional production development, because you're never done. I can never make a perfect simulate. I had a conversation with Warren Spector about this many years ago. You can never fully get the simulation done. You're never going to get the simulation. There's always more you. That was going to be unless you're modeling molecules. How do you can't be done. And that's a big part of why early access, because while we will have a 1.0 at some point, early access lets us just keep iterating and finding the fun with the audience and keep digging into it, Yeah,
because my question was going to be, with something like this, where you could, in theory, have feature creep, but your feature creep is very easy to implement in a weird way. how are you producing this? Like, what are you doing in terms of like deadlines or restrictions in order to make sure the game gets finished? And related to that, I do think early access is a great call, but how do you?
We got to make it.
Yeah, how do you make sure you make it? Because I really think that's like one of the biggest challenges of indie dev is like, a lot of, obviously, but a lot of indie devs don't think about the value of a producer. And there's, a million people can have great game ideas, but very few can actually ship something. So how do you give yourself the restrictions needed to ship it? How are you doing? Are you just self-producing? Like, how are you?
Yes, but I've self-produced. I've been the producer on many of our games, so that's something I can't. I've worked with amazing producers on like the bigger stuff, but I've done production on other games.
So are you like just literally giving yourself like deadlines?
Well, that's the thing. I've had to kind of go back to first principles, because the thing about making most games, and we've shipped faster than most indies. I think in the last 10 years, we've shipped more games than most indie studios have, for better or worse. But I do think part of that is that it's very predictable. With a traditional game, you have a plan, you have an amount of stuff you're going to need to make. You have a rough idea of how long each of those things takes to make. And then basically your planning comes down to, okay, how wrong do you think you are? Right? Like, how much wiggle room do you want to give yourself? Are you going to say, well, I think this will take me 2 years to make, so I'm going to give myself 3? Or do you go, but fundamentally there's no fractal element to it. You are making the stuff. The player is going to move forward for 10 hours, and there has to be enough interesting stuff on that path that they're going to have a good time. With this, it is fractal. Right, you can be done on a location and think, well, this is good enough. This is done. This has enough content. This is what it is. And then you have an idea that you want to push someone off the balcony, right? So you can always be adding and drilling in more stuff. So the way I'm doing it, and this is a way I would really recommend, like anyone who's making anything, at least, especially like if you're on your own or if you're at the start of your career, I'm just being very analytical of my own time. And I'm working out and measuring and testing how long it takes me to do certain things. And I'm trying to get better at predicting that. And it's so you have a good
read on exactly how long something takes.
Yeah. So a good example of this is a character portrait takes me roughly 3 hours at this point, in terms of finding good source material, clearing it, making sure that I'm not stealing it, making sure that I know who did it and what the license is and all that stuff. Then going and doing, paint overs and doing all of the work I want to do, and then finalizing it and making it ready to go in as a game asset. That takes me about 3 hours. So when I'm thinking about a level, I can go, okay, if I need 8 characters, I know that's going to be 24 hours. Okay, I can schedule that in. That's easy, because to be fair, that's very similar to producing assets for anything, because it's very finite. What's not is the making of levels, because as I said, it can be very fractal. So with that one, I actually, as of tomorrow, will have failed a test I basically set myself a set period of time to make a location, and I didn't achieve it in that time. So I have to rethink how long I think it takes me to make something, because I didn't actually. That's the other thing, is allowing yourself to fail and acknowledging when you failed, when you've not done something as quickly as you thought. A lot of us
you need to update your prediction.
But because we're very optimistic, I think people in general, we make a lot of excuses for ourselves. We go, well, this and that and blah blah blah. And there are excuses. There are always excuses, but like being very matter of fact with myself and figuring out. Partially because it's just, like you say, a good way of making sure I finish the game. To know how long it takes me to make a level is obviously a very important metric. But going into early access, it's an exceptionally important metric, because I will be committing to getting things done for the audience. We'll be saying, this is the roadmap.
Yeah.
We're going to release this on this date. Then I can't be wrong, right?
You've got to have that locked in by then, yeah.
So that's the thing I'm on right now, is I'm making content, but I'm also tracking how long it takes me to do certain things, so that I can basically, and this is where Alexander's really useful. One of the many areas Alexander's very useful is accountability for me. being able to go to him and say, okay, it takes me X number of months to make a location, and that won't change. And therefore we can plan and schedule, our content around that and tell the audience, like, you're going to get a new location on this date or whatever. But at this point, at this exact moment, I can't do that, which means I can't do my job.
Yeah.
Essentially, I have to.
Well, it is your job right now,
question.
sort of, is figuring out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm on right now, and I'm hoping by the end of the year I will have nailed that down.
I don't do that currently.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I do with scripts. I know how long it'll take me to do like the script for the game that I've been working on, but with layers,
script's straightforward, right? Because you can get rough work.
As long as I know the length it is, exactly. I know the exact
Yeah.
amount of words I can write in an hour. But
Yeah.
I don't do that with layers deep, which is not just scripts. It's I have to ideate, and I have not actually thought
Yeah.
about doing that, of figuring out like how long does it take me to get the lore down for an area. I don't actually know the answer to that. It's a good thing. I should pay attention to it.
I know people who do it by like the half hour, and I think they're insane. I think that's too much. That's like, I know people who will literally track on a spreadsheet what they do throughout the working day. I couldn't be doing that. But I genuinely, I do.
I could, but I don't think it would help me. I don't think that would be beneficial to my way of working at all.
But you getting a general grasp of, like, if I'm being asked to do the lore for this bigger chunk of game, how long will that take me? That's useful. That's something that you can be a better colleague to your teammates by.
Yeah, it's just that it's more that the lore informs the size of the place, because we do it backwards.
Right.
So I build the area first in theory, and then I make a shitty map, and then they take everything I've done and make it good. Yeah, and they make a good map and they make it bigger. So it's like, it's actually kind of how it's hard for me to say how. So
you're kind of setting everyone else's scope to an extent, then, is what
very much. Yeah, and that is.
So you really should learn. That would be my suggestion. Would be, because do you have a producer? Or
I'm the producer.
Self-producing. If I was you, I would sit down and I would work out.
I guess I was going to say,
like, literally, like, work out, like, what's a screen take? Like, how long does it take an artist? Like, just in terms of, if you would literally imagine a screen of your game, like, how long does it take? How long does it take an artist to do it? How long does it take me to make the block out? Blah 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 blah. Because then you can go, well, I think for this bit of the game, I need 8 screens. And then you can talk to the artist about whether they have time to make 8 screens worth of content.
I mean, I'd have to figure out some version of that. Even that is so complicated, though, because it's like, we use tile sets that are repeatable assets. So those can apply to 10 screens in the same area. You know, whatever. This is a separate conversation to have. But I guess part of the reason why it's easy for me to get away with spending as much time as I want on lore is because I do it and then they build it. And then I'm when they're building the first one, I'm working on the next one, so I actually have quite a bit of time. But whatever, I should figure that out. I haven't thought about
more if you give them a bigger level.
Yeah,
to
but
make,
that one's
right?
bigger.
Like,
I need more time. Make it bigger.
You have too much power.
So the final question I was going to ask is, what are you waiting on before going to early access? / why not do that now? Is it in terms of like the way that this game looks? Is it literally just content? That is what I was going to ask. Is it just we need a certain amount of maps or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, right now, as we record this, it's we've shown 1 level, there are 3 in various stages of not quite complete. I want more stuff before I put it. Like, the thing with early access, obviously there's a price associated with it. So for me, while the plan is and will definitely be, and especially will be, given that we've had a positive reaction, to support this for a very long time after we launch it into early access, I do think on day 1, you hand me some money, you need to get a game back that feels reasonable for the money you've given me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or at least doesn't feel insulting, right? So for me, there's got to be enough stuff there. There's got to be enough stuff there that it feels like you don't feel bad about giving me money. That's job 1. Job 2, though, is because it's weird, because it's a new genre is probably overstating it, but because there's a lot of new interface things in there.
Yeah.
We are still finding that the playtesting, we're finding a lot of big things we want to fix. So Whereas I'm happy doing that with right now, like friends and family, and getting like 20 people to play it. And if one of them has a terrible time, that's fine. They're a friend. It's fine. They'll forgive me. But like
Once they're paying for it.
once we're paying for it, or even just once it's like a member of the public who has no personal relationship with me and doesn't want to like be nice to me, it's just a different layer of feedback you get at that point. And right now, if we put it in front of players, they probably point out the 20 to 30 things I know suck in the game right now, which would be
So
a
it's
waste
not
of their
valuable.
time and my
Totally.
time. It's not valuable right now. So I want to get to a point where I think it's great, and I want the internet to tell me how wrong I am. And that would be the most useful thing. We're going to do, I think we've said this. Yes, we said this. We're going to do alphas. We're going to do like closed alphas before early access. So that will be a chance to get like a bigger number of people in. But I don't want them paying, because they're going to be playing a version of the game I don't think they should be paying for. I want them to play the version where there's still stuff that needs to be fixed. So yeah, that's the thing for us. We're not in a crazy rush. We know we want to get this game really, really right.
Yeah.
So we've given ourselves enough time to do it, because I sincerely think this game has enormous potential. I want it to be. I don't want to rush out the door. Basically, I want it to be the best version of it. I think I've got a good chance as well.
Very
so we'll
exciting.
Well, hopefully. Yeah.
Anything people can do right now to help or support?
As I'm sure they all know, wish list. Like, that's the big metric to push. That's the thing we're trying to get up there. We've got a mailing list as well. We've been doing like a short story.
Yeah, that's really cool.
List, which is fun. It's so fun. It was so the first 4 chapters. So it's a short story released chapter by chapter. The first 4 chapters were basically like a character traveling into London. Mm-hmm. I guess spoilers for the next 5 minutes. No, we've already spoiled it. We said Dracula. And the 4th chapter of the short story is you arriving at Buckingham Palace and being told you're about to meet the King of England, Dracula. And that's the end of the 4th chapter. And we released that 4th chapter it was going to be an hour, but then people started talking about it. So we were like, we should probably get this good out. I think it ended up being about half an hour before we officially announced. So for half an hour, everyone who was reading the short story was like messaging me or like posting like
that's cool
on social media, like, because for them this wasn't just an announcement of a game, it was like a plot twist to a story they've been invested.
That's really cool. That's a
like
really fun way to do that.
I loved it. It was really fun, and there's still 4 more chapters, because we're gonna the character's gonna meet Dracula, and we'll see what happens. But that's it was really fun, because it was something. I think it was even something. I can't remember if we talked about this on the show or off air, but like you were talking to me about how you do like little like writing exercises to feel out like a character. Mm-hmm. It was actually kind of inspired by that. Of like, I could before I start making this game, I probably should work out what Dracula's voice is.
I spoke about it on my YouTube channel about.
Oh, did you? Okay, I'll probably watch that.
Yeah, it was the video about AAA game writing. In that, we did that at Sony Santa Monica Studio, where I like wrote this short story about Faye walking around Jotunheim, and it never be used for anything. It probably exists on a server somewhere, but it was really about everyone having a means to feel out who she was and how she interacted with spaces. And I found it very, very useful for game dev when you never do anything like that again, but it gives you a much bigger picture or idea of who someone is.
That's what it was the two things I wanted to work out were, what's the world feel like to live in for the humans in this world, basically, like, because vampires rule the world. There's a million ways you could do that. I wanted to work out like what the texture of that was from world development point of view, and I wanted to make sure my Dracula writing was where I wanted. I wanted to, because it is an adaptation of, the character obviously from the original story, which then there's obviously been a million films that have used that character, but I don't think Dracula did it as well as. I mean, my Dracula is Bram Stoker's Dracula, because no one's done it as well as Bram Stoker.
Yeah, but there's so many to choose from, right? Like, you have to pick.
Yeah, it's insane. Draculas. I mean, I quite like. It's not a good show, but there was the Stephen Moffat Dracula TV show. The actor is amazing. I don't like the script he's reading, but the performance. I think what often gets lost with Dracula is his insecurity, like that's in the original Bram Stoker novel. Is he's from the old world. He's kind of old aristocracy, trying to find his place in a modern world. That's a big theme of that original story. And kind of, I'm really enjoying, like, so our game takes place, it's his centenary, so it's 100 years after the book. And he's still got that insecurity. He's achieved not world domination of the British Empire, and he's still insecure because of course he would be, because Mark Zuckerberg's still insecure, right? Like, people, you don't get rid of that. And I really enjoy writing the character. He's evil and horrible, but also like needy.
Yeah.
And there's just something, that's a nice tension. I like that. Anyway, so writing the short story was a way of me thinking about that, and then thinking about, like, well, could this be something? Could we serialize this? Dracula wasn't serialized, but like that kind of Victorian thing of serializing novels, like Sherlock Holmes was always serialized, like in magazines and stuff. It just felt very connected. It felt like
that's really cool. Yeah, what a great idea. That and again, would have been very fun.
We'll see if the audience likes it.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, I hope it goes down well. Honestly, I'd quite like to write another one, but it would really depend on whether the audience actually gives a shit.
As is the way.
We'll do some metrics at some point and work out if they actually read it or not.
Is there a way that people can still read that now if they're just listening and would like to catch up?
Yeah, so I should pitch this. So yeah, if people go to bithellgames.com, it'll actually be a pop-up that will suggest the mailing list to you. If you sign up to the mailing list, all the back chapters are available to people who are on the mailing list. So when you get an email, there'll be a link to, like, catch up on previous chapters. So if anyone's interested in, like a little short story about a guy going to London and meeting the King of England, and nothing weird happens, you should totally
very
read that.
Cool.
But yeah, wish lists and mailing lists. That's for us. I'm sure this is similar with you guys. Like, that's the game, right? Is just get the audience ready for the thing.
Yeah, wish list is all we really ask for right now.
Wish listing, and we've had a good first couple of days of wish listing. I'm interested to see where we get to in the first week, but like, it's been a successful. We made a really good splash yesterday.
Hell yeah.
Announcing it.
Congrats.
So, fingers crossed. Yeah.
I will leave links in the description below as always. Check out Vampirium 1997 from Bithell Games. That's it.
I hear it's going to be great.
So I've heard. Many
this is now a podcast about our two games. That's all this is. This is.
Yeah, well,
I'll prepare some questions and I'll do it. I should check in. We've done an episode devoted to this. We should do an episode devoted to what's going on with your game.
That's true. And thankfully Austin doesn't work on anything
notoriously
really.
Very lazy man.
Very lazy man.
Life, flies around the world.
Yeah, he just flies around and
playing the same
conducts
music.
Journey.
Austin, we've heard you.
We've heard it. Get a life.
It was great.
Grow up.
Write something
Honestly,
else.
anything else. Grow up, dude. You got to move on. Stop being such a child.
We will know if he's listened to this. We will know.
Sorry, Austin. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.